Welcome to EduCasts, home of EduCasters. What is perennialism in education? If you ask 10 different people what school is for, you're likely to get 10 different answers. Is it to get a good job? Is it to learn how to be a good citizen? Is it to find yourself or learn to get along with other people? In the noisy, confusing, and ever-changing world of American education, we're constantly chasing the next big thing. New technologies, new teaching styles, new subjects designed to fix whatever social problem is grabbing headlines this week. Amid all this noise, there's one philosophy that stands apart, not because it's new, but because it's stubbornly old. It's called perennialism. The word perennial means everlasting, like a plant that comes back year after year without failing. At its heart, perennialism is an educational philosophy that says the point of school isn't to get a job or to keep up with current events. The point of school is to connect our minds to the timeless, perennial truths that are just as true today as they were 2,000 years ago. It argues that the most important things about being human, our ability to reason, our search for truth, our struggle with questions of justice and beauty, don't change. And if human nature doesn't change, then the education that perfects that nature shouldn't change either. This idea is about as counterculture as it gets in our modern world. It's a philosophy that believes a 21st century student in Chicago has more in common with a student in ancient Athens than they have differences. While it's often dismissed as old-fashioned or elitist, perennialism offers one of the clearest and most powerful answers to that very first question: what is school for? According to the perennialist, school is for one thing: to train the mind, cultivate the intellect, and, by doing so, make us more fully human. We will dig into what perennialists really believe, who its biggest champions were, how it squares off against other major philosophies, and why this seemingly ancient idea still sparks such a heated and important argument today. What perennialists believe. To understand perennialism, we have to start with its four big ideas. First, human nature is constant and universal. A perennialist looks at the world and says, technology changes, fashions change, governments rise and fall, but people don't. We are all, as the philosopher Aristotle said, rational animals. We are the only creatures on Earth that can think logically, ask why, and search for meaning. This shared rationality is our defining feature. It doesn't matter if you were born in ancient Rome, 18th century China, or 21st century America. You are a human being, and your fundamental nature is the same. Therefore, the goal of education should be the same for everyone, everywhere, to develop that core rationality. Second, the purpose of education is to cultivate the intellect, not to train for a job. This is a huge stumbling block for many people. The perennialist isn't worried about whether you can get a job as a coder, a welder, or a marketing manager. They would argue that job training is just that, training. It's not education. Training teaches you the how of a specific, temporary skill. Education teaches you the why of permanent truths. Robert Maynard Hutchins, a key perennialist thinker, famously said that education should be not what is practical in vocational terms, but what is lasting in human terms. The idea is that a mind trained in logic, reasoning, and clear expression is the most practical tool you can have. It will never become obsolete. Unlike a specific job skill, which might be replaced by a new piece of software in 5 years. Third, truth is universal and unchanging. In our modern world, we're very comfortable with the idea that truth is relative, or you have your truth and I have mine. The perennialist flatly rejects this. They believe in truth with a capital T. They argue that some things are just true, whether we like it or not. The laws of mathematics are true. The principles of logic are true. The idea that justice is better than injustice is a true statement. The goal of education, then, is to lead the student toward discovering these permanent truths. The teacher's job isn't to ask students, how do you feel about the Pythagorean theorem? The teacher's job is to say, here's the Pythagorean theorem. Let's understand why it is true and always will be. Finally, the best way to access these truths is through the great books. This is the how-to part of the philosophy. If you're supposed to find timeless truths, where do we look? The perennialists answer, in the great books of the Western world. These are the books that have shaped and defined Western civilization, written by the greatest thinkers in history. This isn't just a reading list. It's the physical record of what perennialists call the Great Conversation. The Great Conversation is the ongoing, centuries-long argument and discussion about the biggest questions of all. What is a good life? What is justice? What is love? What is honor? What is God? By reading Plato, Aristotle, Shakespeare, the authors of the Federalist Papers, and other greats directly, the student is essentially pulling up a chair and joining the most important conversation in human history. They are learning to think by thinking with the geniuses who came before them. A perennialist curriculum isn't based on textbooks, which are watered-down, pre-digested summaries. It's based on primary sources, the real books in all their difficulty and glory.